Hi guys, and welcome to my YouTube channel. So today we're going to be talking about debt management, and the objectives of the video would be to highlight the importance of maintaining debt repayment and how that affects you and your credit profile. We'll also highlight the importance of having a clear picture of your total debt. This is the debt that you owe, the monthly installment, and the interest rate that is charged on each debt. We'll also share information on how you can navigate reducing your debt when you are over indebted, right? We'll also share information about the debt consolidation as well as debt canceling. Okay.
Thank you so much for your time. How are you doing?
Good morning, Shekani, and good morning to your listeners. I'm doing very well, sorry.
No, not a problem. Listen, last week you and I had a very lovely conversation, insightful as well. We discussed credit and what to consider before taking that credit.
Yes.
Once you have now taken the credit, so let's move on to now we've taken the credit. How should we then handle the repayments of it?
And this is very, very important, the handling parts of the credit once you get it, right? So the best way in which you can do this is actually to make sure that you pay on time. And what you can also do is to make sure that you pay at least the minimum installment as is stipulated on your statements. However, if you're having challenges and you're unable to meet those repayments, you need to communicate to your credit provider as soon as possible and at least maybe arrange to make some payments in a smaller installments, right? So what you should not do is to ignore these people. Please don't ignore their calls when they try to contact you, right? What is also important is that you need to make your creditors aware when your contact details or your addresses has changed. And this is at least to make sure that you still get those statements about your credit every month, okay? Also, you need to remember that the way you handle your credit is stored in what is called a credit profile, and this affects you in the future application of credit. So if you pay responsibly, it will be reflected on this credit report. If you skip payments and you pay late or you pay less than what is required, this will also be reflected. And we need to keep in mind that skipping payments means that we will end up paying more on interest rate throughout the period of the credit.
Sure. So you mentioned credit profile having to do with skipping payments and it reflecting on a credit profile. What is that about?
So a credit profile is then a snapshot of how you've been handling and managing your debt. So every time you borrow money from an institution or you're trying to buy something on credit, this is then recorded on your profile. So every time you repay on time, it's recorded. Every time you don't make payment on time, it's also recorded. So this profile that we're talking about has records of your credit behavior, both positive and negative information. So in future, when you try to apply for a credit, your creditors will then pull this credit profile, and then they will use it together with other factors to determine if you're eligible for a credit. They will also use it to actually determine the interest rate that you need to be charged, right? So what is nice is that each person who is an active credit person is entitled to at least one credit profile report per year. So you can access this through the different credit bureaus such as your TransUnion, your Xperia, or CompuScan. So please make sure you request this and check your credit report and see if the information that is there is in alignment with what you know about your credit.
So now, what are the consequences of a bad credit report?
They are some, and I'm just gonna start here, right? So bad credit report or adverse information may be listed on your profile. You're right. It could be a default. This is where your account is in arrears for over 3 months. It could be like a final letter of demand. This is where creditors have sent you such letters. It could be a trace. This is where creditors are saying, we've been looking for Tlekani. We can't get hold of Tlekani. Please make sure you contact us in case there's information or contact details of Tlekani on this credit profile. There is also judgment. This is where now you get a court issue where you are instructed to at least pay the outstanding amount, right? So going back to your question on the consequences. So having a bad credit profile means that you're unlikely to get approved for a loan or any credit line, right? And this can be very bad for you in case you're trying to buy a house or you're trying to buy something like a car or any credit facility. So the beauty is that when you manage your credit well, when you have a good credit profile, you are likely to get approved for loans and with favorable interest rate. So let's try to make sure that we pay responsibly and try to maintain a good credit profile.
So what if we can't? What if we can't
Yeah.
pay, our credit? We've got too many. We're struggling. We're juggling. What do I do in that situation?
So for consumers who are struggling with their monthly debt obligation and their living cost to see them through the month, the National Credit Act introduced a formal relief, a debt relief, and a rehabilitation program in 2007. This is where consumers can apply for debt counseling, right? So then the debt counselor will draft a budget for you, and this will include your essential living expenses. What they will do is that they will also negotiate affordable payment plans for you with the companies in which you owe. So each month you will make a single payment to this debt counselor, who then will distribute the money to the different companies in which you owe. The advantage of this process is that the companies that you owe will no longer call you and make demands. So there won't be any further legal actions that can be taken against you. So what also is affected when you go through this process is the credit term, right? You will then now take longer to pay off this credit, because now you have a reduced installment or you have a smaller installment, so you would take then longer to pay off the debt that you have, right? And another thing that is worth mentioning is that you will no longer be allowed to take any credit while you're undergoing a debt review or a debt counseling, right? It is also important to note that there are fees that debt counselors will charge you. They charge for their services. So note that also debt counselors work only with banks and shops. They don't work with informal credit providers like our Mashonisa, right?
Yeah.
So also please work with the registered debt counselors. Check if they're registered. You can check that on the NCR. If they're registered, do not fall a victim for scammers.
So now one would ask the question, how the debt counselors would then differ from debt consolidation?
Yes, that's really a good question, because a lot of people actually get this confused. So I'll start with the debt review or debt counseling. This is a formal process that involves a debt counselor negotiating a repayment plan with your creditors, and it involves a court order, and this allow a legal protection from the company in which you owe while you're undergoing this process, right? So the company in which you owe cannot abuse you because you're protected legally. So debt consolidation, on the other hand, is obtaining a bigger loan, right? That will then pay all other loans that you have, right? So that then you can focus on this one big loan, right? So the thing to keep in mind is that when you're going through under debt consolidation, it does not offer you any legal protection. And also you may incur more interest rate because you're taking a new credit.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much for those tips and the advice that you gave us there. We do